What is going on, everybody, my peeps? I'm so glad to be with you again, yet here in our discipleship moment together. I am so excited for Christmas. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm so excited for Christmas. Now, while I love the jolliness of the holidays, this last week we've been touching on going through our Bible story, right? The Bible story. We've touched on a couple of things that didn't feel as Christmassy. What I mean by that is we finished kind of the story of Jesus to a certain point this last week, and we entitled it Jesus, the Unexpected King. What made Jesus so unexpected was we mentioned that Israelites, as they grew up, by the time they were 5 years old, they would have memorized the entire first 5 books of the Bible. We call them the Torah. They would have memorized this by 5 or 6 years old. I can't even get my kids to remember the tune to Jingle Bells. But that's how committed they were to learning the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures. That's how committed they were. So we talk about expectation, right? And with COVID and everything else, like, we are anxious to get back to normal, right? But Israel had been waiting for thousands of years, that they had this expectation of this messianic king for a very long time. So imagine everything you're feeling with COVID, just multiply it by a few thousand years. And what we talked about mainly was Jesus' strategy of victory, which is not as common as we may think. See, Jesus' ultimate plan for victory was actually to lose. That's what makes it so hard when we look at the life of Jesus, is that we get to the cross and he lost. Put yourself in the disciples' shoes. Right? You're watching the man who you followed and have devoted your life to hanging on a tree, dead. What about all the things you've anticipated? What about all the promises? What about all the stories? What about everything you've put your hope into? It's gone. I don't think we do this enough. We don't put ourselves in the drama that's in the Bible. These are real people with real emotions that are processing what we're reading. They're processing it in real time. So as you study, into John 18, John 19, as you begin to study through Jesus' crucifixion, how would you feel? What were some questions you would have? How would you go about living after witnessing that moment? And John 19 was kind of a key text that we landed our night on, where we talked about Jesus declaring it is finished. My question for you to chew on this week a bit as we again are walking in discipleship together, getting closer to Jesus, I want to ask you this question. When Jesus calls out, it is finished, what was finished? How can Jesus declare something? Yes, he's giving up his spirit, his life is finished, his job on earth is done. But what does that mean? And what I want you to do is I want you to resist the temptation to say that, well, it's finished because he's going to raise from the dead. Because remember, they didn't know that. That's not part of the story as they know it yet. So you can't go down that road. Instead, I want you to go back all the way back to Genesis and go through it, the whole story, all over again, and ask yourself that question. What is finished?